Hey, BEARWEIGHT Nation, hope you guys are all doing fantastic today. You're probably clicking on this link because you're probably getting a little slow, if you know what I mean. Things change once we hit 30. That's what I noticed for myself. I was not feeling myself. I kind of felt, I wouldn't say depression, but it felt like I just wasn't as motivated as I was. I was taking more naps. My training wasn't as good. My recovery wasn't as good. And I decided to go get a blood work. And to my surprise, it was something simple. It was my test. My test was lower than it should be. Didn't mean I wasn't putting on mass. It didn't mean I was still throwing up a lot of weight. It just meant just my buddies weren't producing like they used to. So I kind of want to go dive into that with you guys and kind of show you how I actually got it all prescribed legally. And everything I do is not to blast gear, it's not to abuse it. I'm trying to simply use it to benefit myself in the sense where I want to be as youthful. I want to feel that youthful feeling. I want to maximize it where I was at maximum in my youth. Like that's what I'm trying to do. I want to just feel that youthfulness. So that's kind of why I want to go over this and show you what good blood work looks like, how you should get it leveled out, and where you get it prescribed. I took some time to figure this out, and it was a big step to make that decision for myself. And I'm not a doctor or anything, guys. I'm simply someone who's just realized there's things we got to do to get ourselves back to somewhat of a normal range, and it means exogenous or taking things outside of what we would normally take because our bodies just slow down and things just don't work as well. So I kind of want to dive in to show you some of my blood work, how I did it, and then of course, I'll give you guys a follow-up video because I know there's going to probably be some comments in the section below. Please do, throw some questions at me. I'll answer them, and then I'll create another video, maybe breaking down anything I missed in this one, because I'm not perfect, no one is, and I still mess up. So you should see some of my pre-recorded videos. They're fantastic. So anyways, guys, I want to dive into this, and I'm going to kind of go through this step by step of how I ended up doing it. So I actually worked with, and this is before the laws changed. So I started my dosing, well, I should say I started my first blood work back in 06-11. So as you can see right here, I got up on the video. Let me just link to this because I was actually working on making sure I, what's the word I'm looking for? Confidential information, that's the word I was looking for. So as you can see right here, highlight. So I got my blood work done on 06/11 of 2022. I went to LabCorp. Now you just can't walk into a lab clinic and say, I'd like some blood tests. No, you have to go to a doctor or physician who's going to then issue the order or whatever the statement they do. They send it over to LabCorp. You do your appointment. Now, if you have insurance, use your insurance card, because essentially that's going to be like anywhere between 30 to 50 bucks to get it done. Outside of insurance, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I'd encourage you, if you don't have insurance, find some way to get it, or state insurance, just to make sure you can be able to go ahead and do your blood work. So I went in, and simply they draw just a couple vials of blood, and then they send it off to the lab, and then they get the blood results, and then they send it over to your physician. So like I said, I was working with a TRT clinic outside of the state of, I'm in Washington State, and this was all the way in Florida. So, and I actually found it from, I think it was Kenny KO. I'm sure you've seen his videos online, and I actually followed him for a while, and I saw, where he did it, because he was having some issues too. He wasn't feeling the same, and so I just said, okay, I wonder how you do this. But unfortunately, a lot of these things have changed, and there hasn't been any updates that I've seen from him on how to actually, maybe he lives in Florida, I'm not sure, and I'm sure that's where he got it. But if you're outside of Florida, it kind of, things changed. So I basically reached out to them. They basically talked to me and said, hey, okay, let's set up an appointment for your blood work. And so they set me up. They sent the stuff over to LabCorp, went in there, got the blood work, and then I worked with a doctor who said, hey, this is where your blood level is. This is all your, your estrogen, your good cholesterol, your, big thing important we'll talk about is ALT, which is your liver enzymes. This is really important. Your blood thickness, and then the most important, what's affecting us guys, your testosterone. Why, it's like the guy who gets in his 40s has this midlife crisis. He doesn't know what's going on, and it's simply because he's not feeling himself, so he has to fill in all this stuff. And I'm like, it's probably just your testosterone. It's just, you're probably trying to find your youthfulness, and it's just simply is, you know, the natural sex hormone that we need to feel better. And I feel night and day difference since I started this about 2 years ago. Um, so as I was saying, I went to I reached out to them, and then they basically started prescribing. I started with a low dose. I recommend to anyone who's doing this, start with a low, work up, and then if you get too high, work back down. I'm actually in the stage of working back down, and I'll show you the reason why. It's really, really important if you're using this to benefit yourself long term. Now, I can't speak on behalf of guys who are taking this, you know, to just abuse it and taking it from wherever. I want to get my stuff legally, pharmaceutical grade, and I want to be as healthy as I can possibly be with it. And I'm not simply interested in abusing any sort of product. So that's kind of my attitude towards, because I want to live a long time. I want to live a long, healthy life. I don't want to, you know, burn myself out to in my 50s and watch, you know, we see a lot of these guys, you know, a lot of these young guys that I've grown up watching, and they're no longer around because they've died in their 50s because they had a heart attack because they simply just didn't watch their cholesterol. So that's one thing that, you know, that I'm really, really stressing the importance of. And this whole channel is about, is a balance and finding health. And, you know, that's why I said bear weights, is because it's all about the weights, you know, and just being the bare minimum of what we can do on the aspect of our natural limits. So that's kind of where I'm kind of pointing into. But we'll kind of start diving into this right now. As you can see, when I first got my blood work, excuse me, and guys, I'm under the weather right now, so I apologize if I'm coughing and my throat's not at 100% right now. So my niece got me sick, so every time I see those little kids, they just get me sick. But I love them. But anyways, so as we kind of dive down here, so this is, like I said, this is you can see everything that's in my blood. Now, I don't understand everything of this, and just so you guys know, I'm going to focus on the most important areas that I've noticed, you know, when it comes down to it. So as you can see, my glucose is a little high right here. You know, my body was trying to balance it out in the first dosage, but you'll see kind of where I'm looking for. It's a little bit easier to understand. The next slide I'll show you guys. So ALT, that means basically your liver enzymes. Anything above 100, that's where you really have to be concerned. That means your liver is damaged. It means the stuff you're taking is killing you. It literally is destroying your liver, and without your liver, you can't process the toxins. Now, this is a little high. They said that, you know, you want to be below 50. So I'm trying to make sure anything I take is just kind of, you know, they say anytime you take any sort of medicines, pre-workouts, things like that, it's going to affect your liver. It's going to have some sort of impact on you. And I take all that stuff, but I try to manage this, and I try to watch it as much as I can. If I start noticing any red flags, if it starts bumping over 60, that's where I need to be really concerned. I'm actually going to be talking to my new physician, because right now they're doing basic lab work. This is a comprehensive lab work, which I'm going to be talking to them about and saying, hey guys, can we switch to a comprehensive? I really need to know what's going on in those areas. So that's something you have to have a discussion with your doctor, because not all of them are just like, you know, are interested in looking at that. The clinic I was working with was more interested in that. So kind of getting back here. And then of course your HDL, that is your good cholesterol. The more testosterone you take, unfortunately the side effects is your HDL is going to go down, and you got to really be careful with that. That's your good cholesterol. It affects you, and that's something where you can start building up, you know, your arteries start getting clogged up and things like that. And you don't want that, because that leads, once again, a heart attack. You know, what was his face? Trying to remember his name. The guy, not Kai Green, but he does the prison workout videos and stuff like that. I'll find it here. But anyways, I was watching some of his stuff, and you know, he had a heart attack, unfortunately, recently. So you know, we watched him get smaller, and you guys will know who I'm talking about. I'll try to put, I'll post it in the bottom down below of who it was, and I'll show the link. But anyways, you know, he had a heart attack, and we're seeing the side effects of abuse of a steroid, and that's not someone who took, you know, and he's now regretting it, and it's because he's had a heart attack and he's young. I mean, he's not even that old, and you know, because he just absolutely tarnished it and just use it. And that's why I see like guys like, and I have huge respect for these guys working out, and like these, you know, like Sam Solik, I think he's awesome, but you got to understand there's a cost benefit for that, and if he abuses it any longer, it could affect him to the point where, you know, he may not make it past his 50s. So, and hopefully he just doesn't, make that his identity. And that's what I see a lot of these guys do, is they make the steroid their identity. And I'm not really interested. I'm once again, it's just about finding the balance between health and using it. So kind of hopping back here, and I'll kind of continue on of how now I actually do it. And like I said, this is all legal. I mean, this is, for example, this is testosterone cypionate. Hopefully you can see that. It's 200 milligrams. And right now my dosage is about 120 milligrams per week. And that's it. So that's going to be 20 units per session. You find out, like, I find that 20 units is just kind of that balance for the human body. But I started with, it was 160, or no, correction. My first dosage, and I'm going to show you as I go through this, was 80 milligrams. So I didn't want to do any more than that. So as you can see here, and I wanted to see after about 30 days, I believe it was, if we go back up here, about 2 months. So I did about 2 months, 60 days, because we kind of just, this is kind of going off my memory about 2 years ago. So as you can see right here, let me find my testosterone. You guys saw it, and I'm just kind of floating around on it. I was just looking at it. Let me see. Oh, here we are. Okay. This was the biggest issue I had. I was at 366 nanograms. That's pretty low. I think it's between 400 and 900. I mean, depending on the doctors. Some doctors were like, oh, you're at 100, you're at 366, you're fine. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I might be 366. I might be high for my range at that age, for your opinion, but I don't feel myself. I don't run the same way as I used to. And my estradiol was right here, 26.3. So it was kind of in that average range, balanced average range. So I was not feeling myself. But I will say, the first time I took it, it really definitely had an impact on me, because I only did it was like if I remember right, I think I was doing 1.5, or no, I was doing like 1 unit like every 2 days or something like that. It was a low dosage. And basically I was just getting that 80 milligrams per week. And I noticed, like, right there and then, my energy started kind of picking up a little bit. I was starting to kind of feel a little bit normal. I wasn't taking naps as nearly as much. And the first time you take it, you're gonna feel really, really warm. That's the weird thing about it. As soon as you inject it into yourself, you feel this like it's like almost you take like Allium or Baby Allium, when your face turns red. You feel the tingles. It almost felt like that the first time I took it, and I was like, I think it's working. But after about, I would say about a month and a half, it's not that I leveled off, but I could tell I was like, there's a little bit more room for improvement. And so I talked to them again, and this is kind of where I started noticing the other side effects to it. I was at a lower dosage, getting into a mid dosage, and then I went to a higher dosage. So I started doing about 160. So this is my first dosage right here. 840 micrograms a deciliter. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. And then my free test was 29.5. And so, or my estradiol was 29.5, sorry. And I started noticing, I was like, so I talked to him some more, and I said, so, because these guys were allowed to, like I said, some of these TRT clinics have a lot of, they're very liberal on how much they can dose. And they were allowed to dose them up to like 500 milligrams. And I was like, I guess it's a way to get around doing healthy bodybuilding. Now, of course, it was pretty expensive without insurance. I was almost spending $400 every 2.5 months. That's what I was spending. And so it was a little expensive. And that came with ganadarelin too. And that is to prevent your boys from shrinking. And I'll be honest with you, I've never noticed any shrinkage because of that. And so I started jumping it up to 160, because I talked to him and I said, okay, like, what's, I'm kind of curious to see, how much better it would feel. And so I went to 160, and as you can see, my freaking test jumped to 1435. That's extremely high in the normal range. Your high normal is like 900. So I was like, oof, and I felt good. And I said, okay, I feel pretty good. But here's the issue. This is the the big side effect. Now, you're going to produce a lot of estrogen. Now, they did prescribe an AI, and I refused to take it. I just took it, but I didn't take it. And the reason I didn't take it is because there's a lot of side effects with AIs. And that is something that blocks estrogen. Because, of course, if you have a lot of free test, it's going to turn to estrogen, which can lead to boobies and man boobs and, just your hormones going all over the place. And I refuse to take because, one, it has a tendency, estrogen is necessary for bone density and protecting your tendons. And those are very important, especially as a power builder, because I'm lifting a lot of weight. I don't need those things breaking down. I need those things to be strong. And a lot of power lifters don't take AIs. Only bodybuilders do because they need to be really cut and really clean. But I heard this. There was a guy who knew Rich Piana, and I was listening to him talk, and he said, he shook his hand one time, and it felt kind of like soft, and it's because Rich Piana was taking so much stuff, and he was taking a lot of estrogen blockers that it breaks down your bones because you need that estrogen, and he just didn't have a strong bones and everything else. Now, like I said, I don't know if that's true, but just kind of giving you an idea, it does break down those things, and you need those to be strong, especially if your muscles grow faster than your tendons. That's where we have problems. That's the issue. So, sorry guys, my throat is shot, and I'm trying to put this video out there for you guys. So, but anyways, so I was saying before, my 1435, that was a pretty sizable jump. But this is where we have problems. Your red blood cell count. So it's like 5.23, 5.49, and then it jumps dramatically. And this is where you start getting that red zone. And this is super important because this is what creates blood clots. So if you have if your blood's really, really thick, and it's because, obviously testosterone is going to create more blood cells, and red blood cells is going to create more oxygen, carrying that to your muscles, but it can lead to blood clots. And so this is something I really concern myself with. And so I'm really focused on bringing this down. I want to bring this down. And so as you can see here, go to the next one. That was my most recent, but here's the one I did. So I switched over to a clinic called Bellingham Urology Group. And I switched over to them because the laws changed where states it had to be within states that you could get prescribed your testosterone. And of course, this actually made it a little bit better for me in a lot of ways, because Florida Alternative Medicine wouldn't take any of my insurance. So I was looking for a TRT clinic in the local area and who someone could prescribe, and then I found them. They don't just prescribe testosterone, they do skin and a bunch of other stuff that I never really worry about. But I contacted them and said, "Do you guys prescribe testosterone?" And they said, "Yeah." So I set up an appointment. I had my blood work sent over to them, and from there I went in, and they wanted to do my blood work, and they just kind of kept me on the 160. But then I started noticing some things, and this is where I guys talked about because your estrogen's so high, you're gonna notice higher ups and downs. This is something I noticed as a wave effect, because you don't start seeing it until after a while. My emotions were a little higher and lower because of it, and I wanted to kind of get that balance. I just want to feel good. I want to cruise. And so we started noticing some problems with my total testosterone. I basically talked to them, and they said, okay, you're doing about 160, and they want to do these like pill injections where it's kind of like they put it on the skin and it releases testosterone. I was like, no, I want to manage this a little bit better. I want to do shots. I prefer to do the shot. It's easier for me. I'd rather do it that way because I can dose it better than that little pill can release, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Like I said, you guys might be doing that. That's totally fine. That's just something I just choose. So I talked to him, and so we kept it at 160, but he noticed my red blood cell count was getting really high. As you can see right here, this is where I started having some issues. It's getting high, and this is my concern right here, is this red blood cell count. Now, it might not seem like it's super high, but it's just better to be on top of it than behind it. And of course, as you can see right here, 1306. So I actually started I brought my dosage down to about 145 after 160. We ran it for one more cycle, He just said, hey man, we just need to look at trying to get you a better health rate. And I said, you know what, let's do that, because I noticed I'm starting to swing a little bit emotionally. So I brought it down to 145. I was still pretty high at 1306. And I said, okay, what can I do to bring it down even farther? So we brought it down to 145, and I ran that again. Like I said, I was at 13, and I just kind of started getting down to about 140, and now I'm down to 1153. Now my emotions are getting more stable. I'm noticing I'm not swinging as hard. I don't feel like energy and then a little bit depression, I guess, and then energy and then depression. I'm just kind of feeling, okay, I'm feeling my normal self. I don't need to take naps. I don't feel tired. I don't feel lethargic. But my red blood cell count is coming down a little bit, as you guys can see. Sorry. As you can see, it's coming down. And that's my focus right now, is to get that down and making sure that's good. And then, of course, and like I said, as you can see, there's not as much information here. It's because they're not doing a thorough blood test, a full blood test. And I'm going to be talking to them about that so I can update you guys on my next blood results. So, God, man, I'm sorry, guys. My throat is killing me. And so now I'm down to 120. So I'm running 3 dosages, 20 units, 3 times a week. That's it. And I'm doing a 20 unit of ganaderolin with that. So I'm doing 20-20. And I'm hoping to get this down to about 950, 900. I just want to stay at about the 900 range. That's like the top of the line natural. And so I'm hoping that's the case. Now I don't feel so emotional, like swinging. I feel more level. And so at the end of the day, that's kind of where I want to be. And like I said, I hope you guys, find for yourself that, excuse me, guys. I hope you guys find for yourself, that balance for yourself. Because I know as we get older, it sucks. You just don't feel the same. Things don't work as well, and you want to be there mentally and physically, not just for yourself, but for your family and your friends. You don't want to be a couch potato. You don't want to be staying at home because you're depressed and you just don't feel like doing things. And that's what I started noticing when my test started getting low and I wasn't feeling the same. And so I was trying different things, trying to bring it up, and I wasn't feeling as motivated anymore. Now I feel right around my old self. Don't get me wrong. There's some things that like aches and pains that I deal with, but I feel about my old self, and that's where I want to be. But for like your final take, guys, when you do go to a local clinic, this is super important. If you have insurance, of course, it's like $50 for to get your blood work, 30 to 50 to get your blood work done. Every time I go to see the clinic, it's like $50. It's like a deductible. And then when you go get your prescription, your testosterone alone is like 119 with the prescribed. With an RX code, it's like 30. But if you have an RX code from your insurance company, like the company I work for, they have insurance RX codes, and it's $10. So I went from $400 to $10 a month for my testosterone. That's it, $10, and that is absolutely worth it to me. And once again, guys, I don't recommend doing this until you're in your 30s and you start feeling the need for it. I don't see any use to doing it in your 20s unless you're doing professional bodybuilding. It's not worth it. It's really not worth it. Use what you got, build a good foundation. Then when things slow down, then consider it. So hope that helps, guys. Like I said, I appreciate your patience on my throat. It's been killing me today. Guys, you guys take care, and BEARWEIGHT Nation's out, and that's all I got, and I'll catch you on the next one.